All right. Well, Tigers win 3-1. And I'm Rogelio. So alongside me, Chris Brown and Yooper will be on shortly, possibly. I'm not sure what's going on yet with those guys, but Tigers win 3-1. And it was a game where Derek Skubal did exactly what he was supposed to do and shoved. And this is what they needed to do. They needed to win game one, get out in front of the Houston crowd, but it never is easy. It never is. And so right now, yeah. So if you've got comments, reactions, go ahead and leave them below. What a game, though. What a game. The Tigers were threatening on putting guys on base the entire game. They were just able to really get to Valdez pretty, and we were able to knock them out of the game. And they had a few chances to score, but just couldn't get it done. But still, they got the hardest part. It's over, I guess, to say they have two more chances to wrap the series up, and you have Reese Olson going tomorrow. But let's talk about the game a little bit here. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the chat here first and foremost here. But that foul tip call. I was on Twitter and somebody was saying that they possibly heard the foul ball because on the live broadcast. So I had it, Josh, that's a good cardiac cats. Good way to call it there. That I didn't hear that foul ball. And if anybody on the broadcast did, let me know, because when I had Dickerson and Bobby Scales on, so I didn't have the ability to listen to that. So, but somebody said on Twitter that they can hear some sort of contact. So, but yeah, that Yanni Diaz single too, same thing, the way that the infield was shifted. That single shouldn't happen because that was a strikeout. I mean, it was just you could debate whether to put Foley in there or not, because he's not been, he's been good lately. He's been getting straight swings and misses. And so there was some kind of, was there too much bullpen management? Was too much management, or not too much management, but too much second guessing himself, over managing? I don't know. But I don't know. They got it done. And so, but let's look at Derek Skubal's performance. And when he got hit in the hand earlier in the game, everybody's collective heart just stopped the beat there. And I'm sure everybody was able to shake it off and go back out there. But his final line: 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Will Vest, masterful performance out of the bullpen. An inning and 2/3, 4 strikeouts, and was able to do it. Surprised we didn't see Holton come back out there, but again, Foley's been earning his wings, and again, he has 14 saves on the season. So, but again, the bats doing it well. They worked the bats pretty well against Valdez. His final line: 4 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Some clutch hitting by Matt Verley, who drove in to run. Malloy did a really good job there. Henry Malloy, after getting a bunch of curveballs at first at bat, was able to come back, center up, and was able to get the job done. So, yeah, this was again, the cardiac cats, as Josh said earlier in the chat. Absolutely a great victory. Tigers go up 1-0 as right now, let's look around the scoreboard right now with the Royals and Orioles playing right now, and it's 1-0 KC in the bottom of the 7th right now. Cole Reagan's just tossing gas. I mean, just doing what he's doing. And so the also go up in that series 1-0. And of course, the winner of that series takes on the Yankees. And of course, if the Tigers win tomorrow, they would go to play Cleveland. So there could be some more AL Central shenanigans going through. But what was your favorite moment of the game? If you're watching us online or you're listening, what was your favorite moment of the game? What was the key play there that stuck out to you? Because I thought that quick inning, that 30 pitch inning there by Skubal, I think it was in the 5th, where he had that quick, I think it was 8 pitches, got it done. I think that was one of the most effective that was a very good inning there, and that I think that helped calm the defense a little bit too. But yeah, now you have, as Cody Saberhagen said on Twitter, bullpen pitching chaos tomorrow. What do you do tomorrow? This is gonna be fun to watch tomorrow. And I believe the same time tomorrow, 2:32 for whatever unknown reason. So Stop It says his highlight was Scooble and plate patience. Yes, Riley Green did have a pretty good defensive play there too. So Sharon on Twitter says anytime School's pitching next 2 games, Sharon, I think with the way the starters, with the Tigers not announcing starters, what have you, I think Reese Olson goes out there and gives him 4 good innings tomorrow. You look like he'd be in good shape, but Houston doesn't strike out a lot. They do hit the ball pretty hard, and I mean it doesn't. I think the Tigers are catching Houston here at a really point here with Alvarez, with just coming back from his knee injury, so he's still not 100%. But what else? Will anybody else notice something else a highlight to them about this game? Because another highlight play to me was Will Vest. Will Vest to me was the player of the game because he went out there and did just dominated, just throwing the fastball, was able to paint the corners pretty well. Will Vest is my clutch player of the game tomorrow, or today rather. I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat here by Elton. Do we see Jackson Jobe tomorrow? If Reese Olson can go 4 or 5, that's our favor. Yeah, I thought that green hit too. I thought that green hit was going to be a home run too. Daily Ninja Bees with that comment. Alex says a 3-hit 2 inning was huge. Getting the bullpen can have implications for tomorrow. Absolutely. And Houston's bullpen is pretty good. I mean, this is one of the bullpens that in the postseason does scare me. You have Josh Hader, and you saw all their weapons today. They used all the big guys today. So we'll see what happens with that, because Ryan Presley's not the same Ryan Presley as he was, which he did not pitch today, but just regardless, they used everybody. I mean, Blanco won a couple innings. So Blanco, who no-hit the Tigers for, I believe, 6 innings or 7 innings early in the year, went out there and he looked 3 walks, and they had him on the ropes the entire time, but just couldn't get it done. But yeah, as far as Jackson Jobe pitches tomorrow, the Tigers get ahead. I could see that, but I mean, it's a lot to ask the kid. But at the same time, I do. YouTube user says AJ getting too cute with the bullpen, should have left Holden finish the game. I was waiting for somebody to come out there and say that perhaps Hinch maybe overthought the bullpen a little bit, and I thought that so too. Just keep riding the hot hands. But again, Hinch has been so good. You know, you really can't question what he's done the last month or so to a certain extent. But today, yeah, you could sit there and say that, because Holton only gets better. So Yooper joining us here, and Yooper, what was your play of the game? Because I mean, first and foremost, welcome aboard, sir. And
there was a game.
Like
they played it. Did I miss it?
Yeah. No, and you know what though? It's like there's a lot of things that look out to. I mean, the Tigers did Hinch get too cute with the bullpen? Did they want to use, as Sharon mentioned on Twitter, I like her point here, do they want to use Holton tomorrow? I don't know. What were your thoughts about the whole game?
Well, the first thing I think of, it was a very Tigersy win, right? How many games this year have we seen them score in 1 inning for the whole day and fail to add any runs? And by hook or by crook, they hang on by their fingernails and they win. That win was something we've probably seen a dozen of this year. And it was really cool to see them do it. That 9th inning will drive you nuts. Those 2 ground balls that Foley gave up that were, weakly hit and end up for hits. That would have been a brutal way to lose. I was very happy that Houston bunted. I really thought that was great that they donated an out when they were down by multiple runs. And I know they want to get those 2 runners moved up, but you're putting it all on, you're sacrificing that out. And I think the out's more important there. And it worked out for the Tigers.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too where some of the one of the things that I noticed too about Houston is like in terms of getting the bullpen a little bit. I thought there was a little bit of it gives confidence, and Richard actually Hinch gives team confidence. Huge things. It's a huge thing for this young team. But the one thing I did notice too about early on in the game was the fact that they were aggressive. The Tigers were aggressive and they needed to be aggressive and they stuck with it. And that's something where, especially with Justin Henry, the at bat, the reason why I like that second at bat so much is because it was curveball, and it was able to just put a bat on there. He didn't do too much with it. And that's an example of a player learning, you've seen him. He didn't play a lot towards down the stretch, but that was a really good at bat there by Malloy.
It was, no question. And just the fact, that they had the runs came on 3 straight 2-out hits.
Yeah.
The Tigers have been a pretty good 2-0 team. I forget the stat and I didn't have time to look it up, obviously, because I was working and watching the game. And but that's been another hallmark of this team is they've had a fair amount of success, especially down the stretch with 2 out. And that's usually about approach.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, Yooper. I mean, that's a team that just where the Tigers were able to, was it 3 straight hits on 2 outs? Is that what it was?
Yeah. And all kind of up the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and it's again, nail biting was the word. It was one of those things where people were probably, I'm sitting there. So I'm watching it. So I had the game on, but I had it muted and I was listening to Dickerson, which is why somebody was saying on Twitter that they heard the foul. I was going to ask you, did you think he had a foul ball there? Did Pena hit at all? Did you hear anything?
You mean the one that they called a strikeout and then they called it a foul tip?
Yeah.
Yeah. A foul ball, I should say. I'll tell you what, the home plate umpire with a right-handed batter is on the other side of that. So he doesn't have a great view of whether that hit dirt or not. So I thought he kind of assumed it was caught. It was okay to get help because it's a huge spot in the game. The first base umpire has some kind of view, but he's a long way away. He's 100 feet away, right?
Yeah.
They saw some dirt puff up in the ground. And I guess he in his mind, he wanted to call it a foul. They overruled him. That was a 50-50 call there. I mean, you could go a bunch of ways. Well, 2 ways.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't sure about that because it was one of those things where I looked at it on mute, and then I was like, oh, come on. But Dickerson also didn't. Dickerson's reaction too is like, oh, come on. And so I kind of fed into it psychologically speaking. I did feed into a little bit, but
this way, if that had been the other team, if we had flipped teams there and the Tigers got that call, we would have been saying, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's true. Again, Bo Brisky. Here's another thing about Bo Brisky. The last ice water, since I saw him at West Michigan, Yooper, Bo Brisky is one of those guys that just I mean, Inspector Gadget, it just doesn't show emotion.
Agreed.
And it just to come in there in a spot like that, you have 40,000 fans, and that's a tough place to play. And you're able to go in and get it done.
And I don't, who knows about the gun in that stadium, but man, he was pumping gas. I mean, he was, hitting 100.
Yeah.
And yeah, he looked calm. He looked like kind of steely-eyed, that he was going to get the job done. Now he gave up a couple of line drives, but they found leather, and that's all that matters.
That was funny seeing Jason Hayward there because I really forgot that I thought he retired.
I didn't know he could still hit the ball that hard.
Yeah. I mean, no, I thought he retired. I really thought he retired.
Yeah.
So it was, but the bottom of the order for Houston didn't really scare me too much. It was, I mean, outside of Alvarez, I mean, Bergman had some really good at bats too, but I don't know. I predicted yesterday that the Tigers would win this series based off the way they've been playing.
Yeah.
And today, if they win game 1, then it's really, it sets the tone because from here, Hinch can go ahead and manage the way he can manage his starting rotation or bullpen the way he wants to from here on out.
It's, to win the Skubal game, I mean, they have so much invested in what he brings to the table, right? you got to win the Scooble game. They did. So now it's just a matter of what we've seen in August and September. Hinch juggling the balls in the air and always coming up on the right side of things. So there's no, tomorrow I think it's going to be the Hannafy Gunther tandem. I'm sure we will see them. And can they get big outs again in the middle of ball games?
Yeah, it's another. This is the third time I've heard this term, pitching chaos. Alec wants to know if there's any word on Scooble doing health wise. Nothing as of yet, but I mean, after that inning where you got hit, seeing a lot of concern. There was a kind of pause for concern that he pitched 88 pitches, but it'd be nice. I mean, I'm not too worried about it. He went out there and did what he was supposed to do. So we won't know anything till probably within the hour or so.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to hear if his ankle tightened up when he came off the mound in the dugout. Because I thought at 88 pitches, I thought he might come out to get the bottom of the order in the next inning. But that's okay. Will Vest came in and he kicked some ass. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Just think of that guy. Think of his life. He was a Rule 5 pick. He got returned in Rule 5. Just kind of kept battling through his career, and all of a sudden he is out there absolutely laying waste to the Astros in those 5 batters. It was very impressive.
Yeah, you're right. His journey back here to Detroit after what you were mentioning too in Seattle and everything, it looks like too that changeup to go along with that fastball. Really, again, the changeup's been such a key piece for all these pitchers for the Tigers. It's been a game changer for Scooble, of course, but on the reliever side of things, again, when you look at the way that this game ended, with the defense, I know we haven't really had a chance to talk about this, Yooper, but the defensive pitching, the Tigers were one of the best. I think that I saw a stat earlier. I think McCoskey pushed up. McCoskey put this up too. The Tigers had the second best defensive run saved among like the team history or something like that. I forgot the exact context of it, but defense wins games. And Jake Rogers also behind. Here's the thing about Jake Rogers too, and they were talking about this during the broadcast, how well of a framer he is, and it's great. And that's the thing too. You see strikes like that where you see Vest Pete in the corner like that. You have Rogers behind the plate just framing it up pretty well too.
He has the ability to kind of smoothly frame it. When he pulls a pitch, it's not that herky-jerky obvious thing, right? He just kind of catches it right in the right spot of the glove and kind of guides his hand back gently to the right spot with great timing on it. And I don't know how much it affects the umpires, but I think it's sort of becoming now a given that it has some positive effect, and he's good at it.
So the Astros I think they're supposed to start with Kikuchi tomorrow. So that's the plan. But I did the same thing. I listened to Tigers radio and synced up the audio to the TV. I did not. Again, I don't. It's just something for me that I do during national broadcasts, with the exception of the ESPN, well, even the ESPN one. I tend to just listen to Dickerson anyway because force of habit, and not to mention it's. Ever since the Chip Carey 1 game 163, where he ended up getting in trouble for that too, I believe. Yeah. He got in trouble for it, he was being so biased towards the Twins. I don't screw with it anymore. I just don't, it's just, to me, it's just simply putting like, okay, you know what? I'd rather have Dickerson and Bobby Scales anyways, who was a guest of the show. So, okay. So Kyle, thank you so much. Kyle said Hunter Brown is going to be the starter tomorrow. So thank you, Kyle. All right. So,
Hunter Brown has had a better second half.
Okay.
Decent pitcher. I think the Tigers had trouble with him the one time they saw him, right?
That is correct. So I actually have check a stat head. Let me pull this up real quick. And we can take a look at how the Tigers have done against Hunter Brown. And while we do that, was there anything else that stood out to you, Yooper?
Well, I mean, as we talk about it, as I mentioned before, the Tigers win. They couldn't add runs. They left 11 men on base. They just could not get that one big hit to land the knockout blow. I mean, Torkelson hit that soft liner where they kind of made a half diving catch. That would have been another 2-out hit for a run. But the Astros, Pena was able to get that. They had the bases loaded, couldn't come up with the big hit. At some point, you got to believe the bullpen might break, the dam might break one night. And a game like today might drift away if they can't start tacking on runs. And it's to the point now, as much as I hate bunting, sometimes I do wonder, given their offensive limitations, if playing for one run on occasion late in games, even with a lead, might not be a bad idea. It
I agree
pains
with
me
you.
to say that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And Sharon is absolutely right. It's you have to score runners on scoring position there. You have to get that done. And whether you have to play a small ball to do it, then so be it. But here's how the Tigers have faced Hunter Brown, the former, who's actually from this area, went to Wayne State. So I believe he's from St. Clair. So it doesn't, I mean, there's not much history to work with here outside of Torkelson, Green, and Carpenter. So not to Verling to a certain extent, but I mean, this is what he's done with them this year against them. 12 innings, 10 hits, 1 earned run, and 16 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Holy, you know what?
He's a solid arm. I mean, he's going to go out and he's going to give them, very likely give them 6-7 quality innings. I predicted earlier today that the Tigers would win the series in 2, and I said they'd win both games 3-2. And it almost got me today. It almost helped me out today. But I would say a 3-2 ball game would be in the Tigers' best interest tomorrow, something like that, because I doubt they can expect to score a whole lot more.
Well, I mean, stranger things have happened.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they jump out early like they did today, then I think if the Tigers, I feel confident if they score 5 runs. I mean, that's how much of a cushion I think they would kind of need a little bit to jump out ahead. And really, I believe Olsen. I don't know if they announced the starter for tomorrow. They're not going to announce the starter until probably 5 minutes before they have to.
Yeah,
Hinch mentioned that too during the presser over the weekend, like when he's going to announce the starters. So
I would, to be honest with you, I would bring a left. I would actually think really hard about Holton and make sure they get through that first inning with Tucker and Alvarez and cut that game, make it an 8-inning game by, getting through the top of their order with Holton. Maybe let him pitch the second inning too.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, I think that could be a possibility with that too. By the way, it's still 1-0 KC as we head to the top of the 9th inning right now. And then the later game, right now the Mets are up 3-2 in the top of the second. And then the 8:38 game on ESPN, also up because the Mets game is also on ESPN. The Braves are playing the Padres. Who do you like in that Brewer series, by the way, Yooper?
Oh, I'd like to see the Brewers, go on a run this year. That's a really solid ball club. A lot of fun to watch. Jackson Churio is going to be one hell of a ball player. I think the Brewers can win this one.
Okay. What about the Padres and the Braves?
Well, I think the Padres are the better team, but I have kind of a soft spot in my heart for the Braves. All those years when I was a kid and we didn't get the Tigers in the Western UP, and I watched so much Braves baseball. I've always been sort of a half fan of theirs. It was kind of my number 2, number 3 team. So I'd like to see the Braves win that one. That was one hell of a ball game yesterday with the Mets.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. It doesn't get a whole lot more fun to watch than that one. That was really something to see.
So for me, I like I think to have the Mets over the Brewers only because I feel like the Brewers do this every year. They get a postseason, they don't do much.
Yeah.
And then I want the Padres, Dodgers in the next round. And I think the Padres this year have been playing really well. They have a really good bullpen, and I think they match up really. I think Atlanta's staff is a little bit running on fumes a little bit, so I think all the injuries have gotten to them. But
yeah,
I believe Chris Sale's not on the roster, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's a tough one to overcome. Yeah. And it's just so amazing that they're in the playoffs. I mean, they've lost Acuna, Strider, Riley, and now Chris Sale. They've gotten to October. That's a testament to the front office there, what they built, actually, just having the playoff appearance.
And Torkelson, by the way, defensively has been better as of late. So that was
no question.
Yeah,
he looked really smooth going back to catch that pop up too.
Yeah,
and that wasn't necessarily. I'm not saying that was an above average play, but it also wasn't an easy play. It's one we've seen him hose up his first year when he was up.
Yeah.
So,
you're right.
Yes,
you're right.
I agree. He has gotten better defensively.
Yeah. Alex, thank you for the donation, by the way. Appreciate that for the $5 donation. Definitely appreciate that.
I was really surprised off Hader. That ball of Riley Green's just died at the fence. And,
Yeah.
I guess Bregman was telling the national guys that when that roof is closed, the ball just does nothing there. Right. And you could see that ball just died. I mean, it was shocking.
Yeah.
The trajectory that Green hit that on, I thought for sure that was out.
Yeah, same here. Maybe like it hit a pocky humidity or something. I don't know. Like I'm not no weather expert, so I wasn't sure what was going on with that. But yeah, I don't know. It's whatever it has to get done tomorrow, I think the Tigers are going to do. So it's to me the biggest thing about the biggest takeaway, and as people are saying, not scoring enough on those when we needed to. That Trey Sweeney play too, also in the ninth was really good too. His glove, but Winfield Perez. You know what? And here's the thing too. Winfield Perez forgets he's a rookie. There's one other play I wanted to mention. The run the second, being aggressive on the base pass, doing that slide. That's clutch. That's clutch work there by Perez, and it's really one of those things where those little things matter. Those little things add up. And Cole Keith too, also on some heads up base running. So stuff like that. The fundamentals. I feel like an old baseball club. It's the fundamentals. It's the fundamentals. We're gonna win these games. But it's true. It's true.
And the other thing about Perez is getting into second was the slide. He really
hook slide, like just
He angled his body beautifully. And of course, who I am. I'm going to give props. Did you see where that umpire was? That umpire was right on top of the play.
Oh yeah, on the call, yeah.
Those guys are pros, man. I mean, he could not have been in a better spot. That's why I felt pretty confident when that went to replay. I was like, well, I mean, the dude was like 2 feet away on the perfect angle. So, and sure enough, he kept his foot on the bag.
Fundamentals do win games, Kyle, because this is a team. The Tigers have not in the last few years. We've watched a lot of bad baseball, and this is the most fundamental sound team we've seen. And to see a play like that, just the amount of like heads up base running with the defensive plays, and Torkelson in the ninth inning, this is why you have to feel good about this team entering the postseason. It's the little things like that go a long way. Because if look at Cleveland, for example, the reason why Cleveland's here is because they have one of the best bullpens in baseball.
Yeah.
But fundamentally speaking, they're a good defensive team as well. So the Tigers have one more game left, of course. I mean, pitching chaos. They have to win one more. And we'll be, tomorrow. Again, we'll be on tomorrow. And if the Tigers are victorious, we'll be talking about that in the Cleveland series because I like their chances against Cleveland.
I'm really happy that they're going to get Carpenter and Keith back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Against the righty. I mean, Hunter Brown's a good pitcher, and he's dominated them this year, and that's all well and good. I mean, that has happened. But I think even though the Tigers won today without Carpenter and Keith in the lineup to start, I'm much happier when they have that threat of Carpenter hitting a bomb with 2 men on base at some point in the game to really separate things. So I'm glad he's going to be in there tomorrow. Yeah,
and as far as like that home run threat that I think they were missing today to a certain extent. Not to say that Green couldn't hit a home run like you said earlier with that that double that should have, like you thought anywhere else any other time would have been a home run. But they, like I said, what I mentioned earlier, Jahan, the great at bat, the guys did it today. Everyone, it was a whole 100% team effort. So
no question.
So tomorrow again, 2:32 will be the start, as Hunter Brown will be the start for for the Houston rather, and it looks like possibly Reese Olson. No confirm. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the case. And right now, last score update for you. Top of the ninth is still 1-0 KC. They have a runner on. I double check that real quick. And the Mets are up 3-2. In the bottom of the second. So enjoy the rest of the afternoon if you're going to watch baseball or whatever you're doing. Over here, it's a really weird, windy day over in the southeastern Michigan. Hopefully Tyler Holden does start. Again, that's probably a really good idea based off those lefties that everybody was talking, the Yooper was talking about. But strategically speaking, would make a lot of sense. But we'll be back tomorrow after the right immediately after the game. And thank you for tuning in. For myself, Yooper, and then Chris will be on with us tomorrow. There is going to be a watch party tomorrow down at Comerica Park. So there's tickets for that are $5. So there's information. Go to tigers.com. I just got an email about that. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you for all the comments. Again, if your nails are, I don't know if you're a nail biter or whatever your nervous tick you do, or whatever superstition thing you do, keep doing that, because people,
today, man, that's what it's all about. That's why we sit through all these games in the dog days of July and August, to finally, after all these years, be back in the playoffs and to experience that. Just think of how devastating that would have been if that had gone the other way. I mean, it would have been gut-wrenching. Instead, everybody's in a pretty good mood, and deservedly so, because they just watched their team hang on for a big win, and hopefully they got one more left in the tank here in this series.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow as the Tigers Road Warriors continue to play. That's the way I look at it. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.